Hi, my name's Jude Hardy, and you might remember me from such hilarious YouTube endeavours as I'll Play Any Crap, where I played any crap, or the hilarious journey of giving up alcohol for a year, which was fun. Basically, the video today is quite a few of you guys have kind of asked about it, and if you do or you don't know, basically my dad has terminal cancer. Wow, this was a lot easier to write down on paper. Yes, I felt that I kind of got to a point where I don't think I was probably really dealing with it, you know, at all, in the usual way where in our family we just make jokes. It's really funny. Let's not talk about the thing that's really bad. We'll just make a joke of it and then it's fine, and we can, you know, detract ourselves from the actual emotional thing that's going on in front of us, you know, the usual sort of thing. So yeah, my dad has asbestos related terminal cancer, so it's in his lung. It's treatable but incurable. So it was fun finding out, obviously. That was great. Seeing my dad cry, be really scared, upset, that was not awful. And see, look now, I can't even just say it properly. So I mean, after the initial shock and everything, I was actually quite lucky. I had one of my best mates living with me, which made it a lot easier because, you know, there's like someone here to kind of talk to and hang out with and chat with about different stuff. And, you know, like inevitably she moved out after a while, and I was kind of just like left at home to my own devices, and there's just this awful feeling of silence and quietness around you where you just, you know, you just have your thoughts. And when something like that happens, you don't really want to think about it because it's kind of shit and it's not very nice to think about it, you know. So I think I kind of, at that point, I made quite a conscious decision just to kind of throw my mind elsewhere and just think about other stuff, like kind of throwing myself into work, which, you know, was fine for a time. But I mean, basically, like, one of my biggest fears is that, you know, I've suffered from depression in my adult life, and I was so worried that this was just going to kind of send me over the edge and just push me back into this like really dark place all over again. And I could not handle that, as well as sort of dealing with the cancer thing. That just frightened the absolute crap out of me, I have to say. So I think kind of adopting this idea of denial was just my brain's way of surviving. It's like a survival mode. I don't, you know, it's such an abhorrent thing to think of, and it scared me so much what it might lead to that I just thought better just to not think of it, you know. And it makes it easier when I see my dad, because then I'm not like, oh, dad, you know. And like, who wants that? Like, if they've got terminal cancer, someone coming up to them and just being all sad in their face all the time, it can't be a particularly good thing. And, you know, I'm used to it, like getting over depression and stuff like that. You have to be quite strong-minded and sort of strong-willed and stop your brain from going in these directions that it just will go in. You have to kind of talk to it and turn it around. So I'm good at that. I'm good at doing that. I've had to do that a lot. And so I just sort of applied that theory to here, which seemed like a really fantastic idea at the time. We then had to wait from the moment we sort of found out. We had to wait, and don't get me wrong, I love the NHS. I think it's like an incredible thing that we have in this country, but fuck me, did we have to wait a long time for the results. It was horrendous. I think in total it was about 6 weeks. Basically, he'd had like an initial scan, and then he had to go back and have like a full body scan. And the full body scan is just basically to see like where, like, has it spread from his lung? Like, is it in his, you know, anywhere else? Like, and depending on where it is, it kind of tells you how long you're going to have, right? So 6 weeks, that was fun. 6 weeks of waiting to find out how long. Well, I see the irony in being made to wait to find out how long you have left. It's sort of ironic in a sort of strangely morbid, macabre way. So kind of like we waited and waited, and like, we couldn't really make any plans about anything because we didn't know if he was going to have treatment right away, like how bad was it going to be. You know, we ended up getting the results, and it was like the best possible results that it could be, you know, under the circumstances, which was that it was still kind of contained within his lung, but it hadn't, you know, spread anywhere else. So yeah, but after waiting 6 weeks, I had just been going out of my mind. I felt awful all the time, just not knowing kind of what to expect. And we kind of got the results just before I went to E3 in Los Angeles. And I mean, God knows what I would have done if it had been worse than that and I would have had to go to E3, because that place is bloody hectic and really stressful, like, regardless. And even with that, when I was working that week, it just, wow, my tolerance for stress was just, I had like nothing to give. I had like no patience for anything, just because it's too much. It's just too much to take on. And you're jet lagged and you're tired, and it's enough to drive anyone insane. So because it hadn't spread anywhere, the doctor basically suggested no treatment at this time. So he's got to go back and have another scan at a later date. I guess they're just going to leave it until it starts growing or changing or something like that, and then they'll, you know, book him in for some treatment. And like my dad he suffered from depression all his life, and he's a very sprightly gentleman. And I think for me, what I'm most worried about is that so much of cancer treatment comes down to like being really positive, almost being in denial, but in a good way, that you can beat this, and it makes such an unbelievable difference, especially to your immune system. I mean, there's been studies and studies about this. Just absolutely terrified that when he starts having the treatment, that's the point, and it won't matter what it does, it will just go that way, because the difference in what his life will be like with or without it, you know, he's up and about, he does a lot of different stuff, and when he will be so tired that he can't do anything, I think, like, I know why I'm whispering, I think that's going to be the point, right? That feels like the moment. So I really don't want him to have treatment. I'm not going to stop him, obviously, but that's kind of, I don't want that. That absolutely terrifies me. Anyway, so E3 came back, was just like, I just need to throw myself into work and just not think about any of this, because I just can't process this information. And you know, it's weird, it's like you're grieving, but for someone who isn't dead yet, which is an odd thing to do, because they're still there, you know, walking around and talking, and you feel really sad because they're gonna die, but they're not dead, but you feel sad. I appreciate everyone's gonna die, but it's a really weird situation to be in. Really odd, because there's so much about it you don't know. It's, you know, it could be like 3 months, it could be 3 years, 10 years, I don't know, like you literally just don't know, which is crazy, because, like, you know, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow, and it's anyway, the short version is I came back and I got kind of thrown back into work, and we booked a holiday to go away with the family, which was really, really good, and that was really, really nice. And then I came back and had more work, and then I was away again, and I don't know, like, I think like last week was the first week I kind of came back, and I wasn't like up to my eyeballs in work, and I just had all this quiet time just to sit, and I guess kind of, not that I was consciously thinking about anything, I was, you know, hustling for work and like doing other stuff and going out, but it's the first time I think it just felt really quiet around me. And I was talking to a friend on the phone. It like casually and parceling, well, everyone needs a hobby, and casually in passing, I just happened to say something. I was talking about my dad, and I said something about my dad, and just all of a sudden I was like, you know, like kind of like completely welled up and started to lose a bit, and I was like, hang on, that's not good, really. I can't be talking about things. I mean, it's usually an obvious sign when something's wrong if you can't say the words without being like and it coming out. You know, it's just like a hardy family trait, basically. You know, make a joke Like when I went out to basically buy my dad a TV after he found he had cancer, because that's obviously what you do. Sorry, you're dying, have a TV. It seemed logical at the time. Shut up. And then like the guy there was like trying to sell us like a 4K TV, and I was like, this looks great, but you know, there's no 4K programming. And he was just like, oh, but there will be at the end of the year. And my dad was like, well, I might be dead then. You know, I mean, to be fair, the guy went away. It was a good way to get rid of him. But it's just kind of like, yeah, it's like a Hardy family thing. Let's all just laugh and make a joke about something terrible, so that we don't have to really deal with it or connect with it anyway, because it's clearly weakness. Emotions are weakness. God, no wonder I'm like this. No wonder I feel the need to express all these things to people. I've like been, my entire life has been one of just absolute repression. Oh my God. I think this week, when I kind of really realised something was up with me and it wasn't just kind of feeling weird or just tired or something, was like I did this Radio 1 doc and it went out and it went really well, like better than I could have expected. Like everyone kind of like really enjoyed it, and BBC were really happy with it. Everyone was really happy with it, and everyone's like, oh, don't you feel great? And I was just like, yeah. And inside I was like, God, I just don't feel anything. I think I've just got so good at just like repressing my emotions that I don't know like how to connect with anything anymore. I feel like I'm on freaking Prozac or something. It's like all this stuff is going on and I can't, you know, like great things, wonderful things, terrible things, and I just can't emotionally engage with any of it. You know, what's the point of being alive if you can't feel something? Even if it's something horrible, at least you know you're alive. I just feel so freaking flat about everything. You know, and I'm not worried about getting depressed now. I'm not, because this isn't depression. This is something completely different, although similar in symptoms, obviously. Like depression, or what I feel when I feel depressed, is far more dark than this. Like, you know, I'll feel bad about something and there'll be like this black cloak of just stuff no one needs to know about, things that I say to myself, like crazy dark stuff. And that's what depression is for me when I'm going through it. But yeah, this is different. This is not like depression. Like I feel sad, but I don't feel this kind of darkness underneath it, like pushing it. It's really odd. I mean, it's grief, right? It's just sadness that this thing has happened. Don't get me wrong, in some ways I feel lucky, and that sounds weird for me to say that, but you know, some people don't ever get the chance to kind of, whatever it is, make amends, connect, spend time, whatever it is they feel that, you know, is lacking from their sort of parents relationship. They don't get that chance, and I do get that chance, but I just sort of feel like because I've been repressing it so much that I was kind of like coasting through it and not really engaging with it. And I don't want to get to that point where I look back and I think I've this time that I've got, that I'm lucky to have, I've just wasted away, not really dealing with it or connecting with it. I felt very much like I'd been avoiding my dad, because like initially I couldn't even look at him. I couldn't have a conversation with him. It's almost like someone's there, but you've like kept them in your peripheral vision and don't really look at them, because looking at them's really hard. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to not see him. So funny, it's so much easier just to talk to a freaking camera than it is to talk to like any of my family members. What is wrong with me? I think I'm just going to make a conscious effort to like spend good quality time with him. We don't have to do anything particular, but just engaging with him and it feeling a bit like it used to before kind of all this stuff happened. And so I saw him last night, and I came in and we just like sat down on the sofa and had a cuddle. I don't think I've cuddled him in, well, since I found out about the cancer. I gave him a hug then, and just sat there, had a cuddle. I feel like I'm too old to have cuddles, but you know, he's still my dad, you know. And we sat there and we watched some terrible Michael J. Fox movie and had dinner, and it was really nice. It was really weird. I don't think I've done that in a very long time. And I just thought, like, I got really upset. I was trying not to like cry on his side, but he was asking me what was wrong, and it's just like, you feel a bit low. I was like, yeah, and I thought, well, I don't want him to just think it's that, because it's not that. I just said that I was really scared. I was really scared about him not being there, and he said he was really scared too, which is a hard thing to hear. But as much as, you know, I am, it's about, you know, what I'm going through, it's also about what he's going through. And I suppose it's that thing where if we kind of talk about it, we can kind of help each other. But it felt good to talk about it. It felt good to kind of let him know how I'm feeling, that I give a fucking shit. And of course I give a shit, and of course he knows that, but I don't know if this is just worse because I've like completely repressed it for like 4 months and now it's like coming out in like this, or whether it's just like whenever it would have happened it would have just been like this, because I don't know, it's your dad, isn't it? I just figure that not keeping quiet about this and not talking about it, and kind of I need to deal with it in a healthy way. That of course I'm going to have moments where I'm sad and I feel really awful about it, but I can just sort of deal with it and it's not so overwhelming like when it does happen. And I just kind of, I guess, this is like the longest vlog ever in the world. I guess I just wanted to make a statement about this, because I felt like in some ways like I've been lying about how I felt, and I don't really want to lie about that, because it's not fair, because you know there are other people out there going through this, and I don't want it to seem like I'm like some fucking demon who this shit doesn't affect, 'cause of course it bloody does. And you know, and you can be as strong as you like, you know, and I've managed it for like 4 months to just get on with it, deal with it. But then ultimately, how you truly feel will always come to the surface. You can't stop it. I guess I just wanted you guys to know that it's alright to feel like this. That it's okay, and that if you're going through something similar, you're not alone. It's like one of the worst feelings in the world, because you do feel alone. You feel like you're the only one. And then when you talk about cancer, you realise like everybody has freaking cancer. I've always been so afraid of my emotions, always. Growing up, it was always a sign of weakness, or it would always lead to either having the piss taken out of you or something you love being destroyed. And I've always been so afraid of my emotions and so good at controlling and concealing how I feel. And I always thought that was quite not a healthy thing to do, but that's how you deal with it, right? That's how you deal with feelings you don't want to feel. You just move them away, put them somewhere else. And I think just, you know, the older I've got, the more I've realised that you feel stronger for engaging with them, because then you're not afraid of them. You're not afraid of them anymore, because, you know, people might say, oh, it's really brave of you, like, doing this, but it's, to me, it shows strength. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid to be upset by this. I'm not afraid to cry. I'm not ashamed of it. Everything I'm feeling, you should bloody well feel if your dad's gonna fucking die from cancer. That's just how it is. And anyone who says otherwise is a fucking liar. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to go through life not feeling anything. Well, thank you so much for listening to this marathon of words. Yeah. It does feel cathartic to talk about it, even if it's just to you guys. I feel quite lucky, really. Like, you guys have been so unbelievably supportive to all this. And then some I felt really low. You always make me feel better. And like I'm not alone, and a lot of you have shared like your stories, you know, with stuff you've gone through, and I appreciate, you know, I appreciate you guys doing that. It's meant a lot. Just, yeah. Well, I might do some more vlogs. Hopefully, no, they won't be as depressing as this one. I can't keep talking about cancer, that's just awful. I'll think of something else to say. Don't know what. I don't know how we're going to decide. Maybe you guys can pick some topics and I'll just talk randomly for 20 minutes about them. I'm sure I could do that. Hopefully with less crying and sniffing. Anyway, yeah, thank you for listening. I don't know how to end it now. What do I do? There's nothing to distract you with, so I can leave. Shit.